afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are you all today? Good. What is today's date? 8. 8 of what?
January.
8 of January. Okay, good. So, let's see. Anybody new, first time here on my left? Anybody who is here for the first time? Let's see. Anybody who have not introduced ourselves before? I will introduce. Back right, I cannot see the back. Okay, the back. Okay, all of you seated on in order. Let's see it on the right. Okay, yes. So, hi. What is your name and how do you get to know about this good cultivation?
My name is Chuan. I know this Buddhism.
Good, welcome. Let's see. 无声胜有声. There are some saying behind the right at the back. There are a lot of emphasis in front. Come and sit in front. Yes, Erika. Come. And yes, you as well. The two of you can come forward. And there are a couple of seats in front there. We should put four cushions on each side in future. Who is in charge of the cushion? Yeah, we can ask her to do 4 aside with the chair, so 5 on each row. Yeah. Otherwise, everybody's almost into the toilet already. Yeah, almost into the toilet. Okay. So welcome to the SGC Spiritual Group Cultivation, where we do a bit of short chanting in Pali and the Chinese chanting, and then we do a bit of sitting, followed by some Dharma sharing. So today is the second week of the month. But last week we had a special alms offering. Sharing, and then so the lesson or the topic for the first week of the month got shifted. Yeah. So every first week of the month we cover the Bodhisattva vows. Vows. So this week we are on to Precept number 27. Precept number 27. Because of the duration, maybe a bit. Can you remember when the last time we covered the Bodhisattva vows? Seems quite long ago, huh? Yeah. So in the past few precepts, from disparaging Sravaka Dharma, turning away from Mahayana, and abandoning Buddha Dharma. It's all about how we relate to the teachings. Yeah, how we relate to the teachings. Yesterday there was an interesting post on Facebook, because I have this app that would automatically post verses from the Dharmapada online. Yeah. There have been many people who think that, wow, Shifu is very on. Every day without fail, no matter where he is, he will post something. Yeah. I wrote an app, a server app, and it will just post automatically. Yeah. So yesterday's posting was from the Dharmapada also, And the verse highlighted how it is for different individuals, yeah, where some individuals may not find peace and silence. And then the last part of the verse, it talks about that there's no peace or silence for a fool who do not see the sublime truth. Yeah? Who do not see the sublime truth. What does that mean? It means that if a person, so who is a fool? The first question. Do you know what is a fool? No, F-O-O-L, fool, foolish, fool. Yeah. Do you all call people a fool in your day-to-day life? No? Have you all been called a fool before? Yes. When we are kids, sometimes our parents may tell us, don't play the fool. Yeah? Our teachers may say that to us also. Yeah? Is there anyone who would like to be called the fool? Why are you also serious today? And is there anyone who would like to be called a fool? No one. So, of course, most people do not want to be called a fool. But if we look at the sutta, the Dharmapada is mainly verses from what the Buddha said. Yeah, and in quite a few suttas, the Buddha actually called people, you foolish men. Yeah. He called certain individuals fool. Yeah. Or he would say that is foolish. In today's context, it may be a bit sensitive for some people, not for me. As you all know, I always say, if something looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, call it what it is, a duck. Yeah? If a person acts like a fool, behaves like a fool, think like a fool, then the person is a fool. Yeah? So, it's quite funny because there were some thoughts that someone on Facebook shared, feeling that is quite uncalled for, that in this day and age, how can we still be having such strong words, Yeah. But you'll find that similarly in the Bodhisattva text, and in fact throughout the sutras, there's no whitewashing, there's no glossing over things. Yeah, it makes it very clear that, okay, if it's like this, then it is right. If it's like that, then it's wrong. But these days, that's not very politically correct. If you make such a statement, people will immediately say that you are judgemental. I think parents face that a lot. If parents say something about the children, nowadays children are very smart. They have wide vocabulary. No, actually they have very wide vocabulary, but they only use this word, don't judge me. Yeah. But the Buddhist teaching is does not try to be politically correct. Yeah. In fact, many times when you learn Dharma, you may feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Because it forces us to look at our life, ourselves, in a very stuck manner. Yeah, in a very stuck manner. And sometimes not sugarcoating it. Yeah, so quite naturally it doesn't feel quite good. So there's this question about who is the fool? Yeah. So from that verse, it is very clear, whoever do not see the truth is a fool. Yeah. Someone else pointed out something that I thought is very interesting and I wanted to share with you, which is that in Buddhism, when we say that someone is foolish, we don't say that Buddhists are not foolish. non-Buddhists are foolish. We don't say that. We say that whoever do not see the truth is foolish. So even if you are a Buddhist for 10 years, 20 years, yeah, if you don't see the truth, you are still foolish. So it's not so much about Buddhists or non-Buddhists. Yeah. If you are not a Buddhist, but you actually see the truth, yeah, you can appreciate that life is impermanent. And as a result, you do not allow yourself or you do not give rise to mental agitation over the impermanence of things, then you are a wise person. Yeah? Then you are a wise person. Yeah? In Buddhism, it's not so much whether you fall under this or that label. Yeah? So I just wanted to share about that. Because here, the past few, is it clear? Is the projection clear?
No.
Very small, huh? Is it better? Small? If it's small, you all have to tell me that it's small. Huh? Because it appears quite big to me here. You all don't just sit out there and then all, or like very fed up face. I said, how come everybody is so like utsu? Yeah. So in the past few precepts, there's some mention about, for example, evil heterodox commentaries. Yeah. So within Buddhism, between Shravaka and the Bodhisattva path, yeah, this text makes a very clear distinction that the Bodhisattva should not be disparaging Shravaka teachings. Yeah? As much as they are different, but they shouldn't, that is part of the different stages, that one should not disparage the Shravaka teachings. At the same time, one should not turn away from Mahayana teachings, the Bodhisattva canon, and then only learn Shravaka teachings. What is Shravaka teachings? No, it's not Theravada teachings. And that's the misconception. Shravaka doesn't mean Theravada. Yeah? What is the meaning of Shravaka?
Hearers.
The hearers, yeah? Hearer. Cannot remember? Can remember? How many of you cannot remember? Oh, so few cannot remember. Then the rest all, let me just stare at the projector. Don't make eye contact. Okay, Shravaka. Zen-ren. Shravaka. Shravaka is not an English word, so not so easy to remember, isn't it? Yeah, can remember Shravaka. How many of you can remember? How about the rest cannot remember? Okay, so let's read together. Shravaka. One more time. Shravaka. One more time. How come the last one? Shravaka. Shravaka? Yes, okay. What is Shravaka? Servant. Hearers. It's actually a term that the Buddha used to describe. In a way, it is in praise of his disciples. Yeah? In praise of his disciples that they are always listening. Yeah? Then there's another aspect of this description, which is that they depend on listening to the Buddha's teaching in order to attain enlightenment. Yeah? That they are not able to attain enlightenment on their own. Yeah. So Shravakas, by definition, refers to those who, through the Buddha's teaching, yeah, then they are able to directly attain enlightenment. So there may be those who listen to the Buddha's teaching, but they do not attain enlightenment in this very life. Yeah? But then at a later stage, some other lives, maybe you attend SGC, yeah, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, yeah, and then maybe can remember, cannot remember. Then Sifu keep on asking you, repeat Shravaka, Bodhisattva, and so on, repeat. Then because you repeat, then maybe some weeks fed up. Then, so this life never attained Arahanthood. So next life, but because you keep on kena repeating, next life when you were born, then the first word in your mind, say mommy, Shravaka. Maybe, yeah. Then mommy wondering, hey, how come? Maybe your mommy is not a Buddhist. Yeah. So after many lives, maybe, then in one of the life, maybe at that point, there's no more Buddhism. Yeah. Can Buddhism disappear from this world? Yes. Buddhism, like all things that is conditioned, can arise and it can cease. Yeah. The truth that the teachings within Buddhism, there is the people, the lineage, and then there's the Dharma. Yeah. The Dharma, the teachings that is taught by the Buddha. This teaching depends on the Buddha to teach through words, to express, is also dependent, arising, and hence one day can also disappear. But the truth that it points towards, yeah, is not conditioned. So the truth is always like that. Yeah? The way things are is the way things are. Yeah? That doesn't change. That doesn't depend on the Buddha to express, then it's like that. Yeah? That all things are impermanent. Yeah? All things conditioned are impermanent. That doesn't depend on the Buddha to make it impermanent. It was always impermanent. Yeah? So one day, the Buddhism disappeared. The Dharma itself, as in the words that we can read, we can chant, all this disappeared. Yeah? At first, like now, it is still there. And there are those of us who can understand, who can explain, and we can remember the meaning. One day, the meaning is lost. Yeah? The text may still be there, but when people read, don't know what it's talking about. Nobody understands the text. One day, if people look at the text, don't know what it is. Yeah? Maybe can read, but cannot understand it. One day, nobody read. And one day, because nobody read, then the text also disappears. Then until some time, but then what didn't disappear? The seeds planted in your mind. Sifu asks you repeat Shravaka 3 times. Repeat Shravaka, Shravaka, Shravaka. And one day you are born a human being again, and then no more Buddhism. Then got nothing to do, waiting for traffic light. Then you maybe the wind blow, then the leaf fall down. And when there are conditions, then the leaf fall down. Oh. Every day you go to work, then you see the flowers, and the flowers fade. And it's then one day you attain Arahant. But at that point in time, you are given a special name, not Arahant, Pachika Buddha, or Taiwan Xiao. So, if when you attain enlightenment and you still teach, if you attain enlightenment on your own and you still teach, then you become Sama Sambuddha. Yeah? If you attain enlightenment but you don't teach further, you just attain enlightenment after 7 days and Parinibbana. Yeah? To others, it just appear like, hey, Sunday you just resign from work, then you pass away. But actually you attain particular Buddhahood, then you just enter Parinibbana. And then your friends do know. Then your friends say, he run, he jog, he's a vegan somehow. See, vegan no use, can die also. But so a lot of people, very likely that people make such statements, is it? Yeah. But for you, for whatever they say, it's okay. They enter Parinibbana. Then there are those who don't just seek their own liberation. They reach a certain level of cultivation where they are able to also guide others, teach others. Yeah? And when they do that, they are called Bodhisattva. Yeah? Yeah. Bodhisattva. 觉有情，觉有情。So this Bodhi is awakening, yeah? Awakening, Bodhi, Sattva, beings. Yeah? So this 觉有情, someone who seeks, a being who seeks enlightenment to enlighten beings. This 觉有情, 有情觉. So the past few precepts circles around these two. Yeah. How do we relate to the teachings under Shravaka section? And even as you do not disparage Shravaka teachings, but you must, as a Bodhisattva, you must not say that, oh, I only learn Shravaka teachings. Yeah, you must also learn Bodhisattva teachings. Then, from within Buddhist teachings, then here it says, how about outside of Buddhist teaching? Yeah. Is it okay to learn beyond Buddhist teaching? Yeah. So this is where Buddhism is quite interesting. So in Buddhism, for a Bodhisattva, if you were to read and learn the teachings outside of Buddhism, it's not a crime, it's not a wrong thing. But if you devote more than a certain amount, then it is not so good. How much? So previously, we went through this precept. And the amount is, if one uses 2/3 of his daily time to learn the Buddha Sutras and just 1/3 to learn non-Buddhist sutras, scriptures, then such a person didn't break this precept. So 2/3 for Buddhist sutras, 1/3 for non-Buddhist scriptures. Okay. Still okay. So, do you all go and learn non-Buddhist scriptures? Do you all do that? Some of you do that? Sometimes I have conversations with some Buddhists, and when they talk about other religion, they can be quite agitated. They are quite very strongly against other religion. But many times when I ask them, so what are you against? They cannot really tell me or tell you what they are against. If you do not know, you do not have to accept, but if you do not know another religion's teaching, you don't really have a right to say that it's right or wrong. You need to know what other religions are teaching before you can decide, before you can make the call and say that okay, I agree or I disagree. Similarly, I tell some kids, if you disagree with your parents, you must first listen to your parents to know what they are trying to tell you or what they are trying to instruct you before you can disagree with them. Yeah. If you just, the moment of mommy open your mouth, then you, no, then you're just being unreasonable, But similarly, when your child has come to a certain age, and your child wants to tell you something, state his opinion. Sometimes I hear from some parents that, my son or my daughter, like no end, keep arguing this way, arguing that way. I've got a lot of doubt here. I can't be bothered. I just tell them, I say so. Okay then. Yeah. Sometimes you need to do that. When it comes to life and death matters. Yeah. If let's say your son or daughter asks you, can I go and climb a tall building and hang from the ledge with one hand like that? Yeah. In YouTube, sometimes you see some crazy people. To me, they are crazy people. Yeah. Anyone who do such a thing is a crazy person. Yeah, without safety harness, no guidelines and everything. Yeah. If your child asks you, actually, if your child wants to do that, he won't ask you. Yeah. But let's say your child asks you, okay, would you explain to them? Would you bother to son or daughter, come, let me explain to you why that is not good. Would you bother? This is where I would say, yeah, if there's one time you want to, you want to take out your I'm mother card or I'm father card, yeah, don't use that every day. If you use that every day, then you're just an autocratic father or mother. Yeah. But once in a while, sometimes for such matters, you got to. So, yeah. So that this is the past few precepts. So in this precept 27, not having faith in profound Dharma. In a way, it's linked to the Facebook post yesterday. Yeah. In the Facebook post yesterday, it states that if a person do not see the profound truth, then you do not enjoy, you will not have peace and silence. And such a person is called a fool. Yeah. Let's see. Not having faith in profound Dharma. If a Bodhisattva, hearing the profound and true meaning of Bodhisattva canon, the innumerable spiritual power of various Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, disparages and rejects them, declaring, these are not beneficial, not said by the Tathagata, and are unable to bring ease and joy to sentient beings. This is named a transgression. Multiple transgressions is a transgression of default nature. The transgression also applies if the disparagement arises because one contemplates improperly or because one follows others. Yeah. Here others, those who don't contemplate properly. The Bodhisattva, on hearing the supreme profound meaning but is unable to understand it, should have faith and sincerity, learning it in such a manner. I think I missed B. I may not, there should be a B.
I am not.
Oh, I am not. Oh, yeah. I am not a wise person and blind without the eye of wisdom. The Tathagata, observing via his eye of wisdom, teaches accordingly. The Tathagata has other teachings that I can understand, so why am I disparaging? Such a Bodhisattva knows clearly that he is ignorant. Doing so, one contemplates and follows rightly the Dharma realized by the Tathagata, does not transgress nor disparage out of non-comprehension. So there are some parts of the Buddhist teaching the Buddha's teaching that is a bit cheaper. Yeah. Simple example, the Buddha mentioned about different worlds, yeah, such as different realms, like heavenly realms, ghost realm, hell realm, and so on. Yeah. Have you all seen heavenly beings before? How about hell beings? Have you all gone to hell before? So all the mothers and fathers go to hell before. Hell on earth. Your children give you hell. Yeah. Those who are not parents, we also go through hell, isn't it? Yeah, the exam hell. Yeah, the kind of stress. But how about the actual hell? Yeah, most of us have not seen it before. In a way, this is just an example of the part here that says, if a Bodhisattva, hearing the profound and true meaning of Bodhisattva canon, the innumerable spiritual power of various Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So there are certain parts of the teachings that is quite beyond what we can directly observe or understand. Yeah. So here it is not saying that one should just accept by blind faith. Yeah. One key thing, when we say blind faith, it means that accept and don't investigate further. Yeah. But this is not that. Yeah. This is saying, well, to have that modicum level of faith, to know that, yeah, there are certain parts that you cannot understand yet. Yeah. The important thing is that the Tathagata, referring to the Buddha, has other teachings that I can understand. Yeah. So there are some parts that you can understand, and some parts that you cannot understand yet. Yeah. It doesn't make those parts that we cannot understand wrong. Yeah. Just consider worldly subjects. Okay, worldly subjects. Physics, for example. Yeah. If you take university physics and show it to secondary school kids, they are also studying physics, but they cannot understand it. Yeah. Not so easy to understand. You need a lot more explanation, and they still not make sense of it. Yeah? So, in physics, in science, you don't simply then assume that it's correct. Yeah? But you further investigate, you learn more, and then you, at some point, you can even test it out, you try it out, you conduct experiments to prove. Or if you manage to disprove those things from university, then you should go and write a paper, you know. Yeah. So similarly in Buddhism, the attitude and the process is that you shouldn't just jump to the conclusion that if you cannot understand or observe directly, then it's wrong. Shouldn't do that also. Shouldn't do that also. But to consider that, okay, there may be certain parts that you are not able to comprehend directly immediately. So this precept, in a way, can be quite simple. Yeah, it's simply about how we should approach learning Dharma. Yeah. If you look at the Nikayas, most of the Nikayas are pretty, in a way, straightforward. But if you look at the Mahayana Sutras, such as, let's say, Huayi Avatamsaka Sutra, from the first chapter until the last chapter is filled with descriptions and texts that even if someone explains to you, it's not something that many of us can immediately see or observe or achieve. Yeah. But it describes the state of cultivation that enlightened beings are capable of reaching. So, any thoughts and questions about this? Any thoughts or questions about this? Wilson? I'm so surprised, man. Is it because you are sitting all the way at the back? When I saw this, I was thinking, Wilson should have a lot of questions about this. Sometimes some of you all share with me that there are some sessions or some classes where you find the Dharma or Buddhism very applicable to your life. Yeah? But there are some lessons where after listening to it, some of you may find that like, okay, so how does this apply to my life? Yeah. Out of those who cannot find it relevant, only a handful would actually share that with me. The rest of them are just so there are a few things I want to comment on that. One, in a way, I will not apologize for the fact that, yeah, sometimes some of the teachings really do not have a direct application to our daily life. It is true. Let me just say what you all are thinking, okay? Some teachings really don't have a direct application in your life. Sometimes Sifu try in a very contrived manner to fit it in. Yeah, for example, this, I could see that, I could bring out the fact that the principle behind can be applied to your life. Yeah, the principle, but only the principle. For example, what is this principle? It is that you don't simply reject something just because you cannot understand. So how can that be applied in your life? Again, coming back to parent-child relationship, children should not simply reject what their parents say simply because it doesn't make sense to them. Yeah. Likewise, parents should not reject what their children say simply because it doesn't make sense to them as well. Right? I mean, this is the principle behind. Yeah. We shouldn't reject TCM simply because we don't know enough about it. Yeah. Do you all realize that most people accept Western medical science, yeah, without really understanding how it works also, right? But why do we accept it? Because since young, we have been brought up in this form of education, nothing wrong with it, but because of this familiarity, we have more confidence, more faith in Western medical science. Yeah? Strictly speaking, the whole Western education. I'm schooled in that, so I can sort of appreciate it from first hand why we would simply be more ready to accept if a person wearing white coat, yeah, with a doctor something, yeah, MD, whatever, yeah, or a PhD says that you should eat banana, it's good for you because it has potassium, it has some cation, whatever, you know, you simply have more faith in that. Yeah. Whereas if a TCM explains to you about the Wuxing about the Kan, Fei, Tan, whatever, you know, it has its own system. If we were brought up with that system, you would quite naturally have more faith in TCM. Yeah. So this is one way to apply it. Yeah. Sometimes Sifu will do that. Sometimes Sifu run out of time, talk about a lot of other stories, I don't have time to do that. Right? But if you were to look at the context itself, the context of this sutta, this precept itself, really cannot be directly applied to your life. Is it true?
Yeah.
True and not true also. Yeah? It cannot be applied to your life directly if you are not someone who is actively reading the Dharma. If you're not even actively reading Dharma, you will definitely find that it's not applicable. Why? Because you never encountered any Dharma to begin with, not to mention profound and true meaning of Bodhisattva canon. At the first place, you may be wondering, you may still be wondering, what is Bodhisattva canon? I only heard of Pali canon. Yeah, you know what I mean? So there's a reason why sometimes certain parts of the teaching seems applicable, some parts don't seem to be so applicable. It is because of the context. Yeah? This set of teachings is for Bodhisattva. And by Bodhisattva, it doesn't just mean that, oh, you have a good heart, then you're Bodhisattva. Yeah. Sometimes in Dharma talks, the Venerable is very kind and praise everyone, those are Pusa. But here, if you are not actively learning and practicing, yeah, it's definitely not so applicable. Yeah? So this is the hardcore truth. This is the way it is. Yeah? In terms of the other sessions that we have, for example, now we are covering the paramitas, and we are still at perfection of precepts. Yeah? Perfections of precepts. Sila paramita. And we covered a couple of precepts. We covered first the one on alcohol with a vote of I think 23. Then we go on to the which precept? The one. Also we covered lying first, lying with 23. Then we covered a bit about drinking. Yeah. So for some precepts, some teachings like precepts, it may seem to be more directly involved with our life, but again, it can be a challenge. Take drinking for example. If we ask you not to drink, how many of you drink? Raise your hand. 刚刚提出了 you dare to drink, don't dare to drink, right? Okay, 1, 2, and then you drink. When I say drink, I don't mean drink water. Drink beer.
No.
But then what do you drink?
I drink water only.
How I knew it. When I say do you drink, I don't drink alcohol. You don't drink alcohol. Anyhow, put out your hand. She can be humorous as well. So,
Very funny person. Very funny person.
Yeah, oh yes, yes.
After that, I can interact with insects also. Insects, I can talk with insects.
You can talk to insects,
Yeah.
but can they understand you?
Yeah, but sometimes when there's lizard, I talk. Lizard also say, yeah.
And you know what the lizard say to the wife after that?
No,
You don't, no, let me tell you. Maybe the lizard husband talk to the wife after that at the end of the day saying, there's this girl who keep trying to pick me up. You. And the lizard, no, I'm married. Okay, anyway, joking out. I don't understand the also. So, not having faith in profound Dharma. I mean, if you extract the principle, you can apply it in various ways. Yeah, you can apply it in various ways. Yeah, and you could also look at this principle and consider it in your life. But if you look at the context of this precept itself, is about how within the Buddha's teaching, there are certain parts that is readily verifiable. Yeah? There are certain parts that is directly verifiable, and you should work on that, and then strengthen the other part over time. Yeah? Because just as I mentioned, that in worldly studies, including physics, maths, science, if you start off at a certain stage, you cannot simply expect that you can understand every single part immediately. Immediately. I mentioned on Tuesday during the group study something about have you heard of the Noble Eightfold Path? Can you all remember? Yeah? Starting with right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, mindfulness, and concentration, altogether 8. So there was a time where, maybe I shouldn't mention the school name, but there was a time where there was a school that had this display, yeah, that was on the corridor, and so requested for the Venerables to, give the standard description so that we can put it on a panel, a series of panels. So we went through a few rounds to make sure that it is concise, it is accurate, and readable. Yeah, you don't want to do something that is too terse and too difficult to understand. So after sending it over, we had a meeting, and we were told this, the feedback. Venerable, the verses are very good, but the primary school kids may not be able to understand. Yeah, this was the reply. And they asked whether we can simplify it further to make it more understandable, for primary school kids. So I replied and I told them, it was a meeting, and I told them straight in the face that we give primary school kids 6 years to study whatever they need to study. We give them 6 years full time, Monday to Friday, to learn arithmetic. By the time they reach P6, when they finish P6, can they do really much? No. They only have studied enough to start learning at Sec 1 level. And not all of them can manage as well. And they are given 6 years. So then I asked, the Noble Eightfold Path is the solution to mankind's suffering. What makes you think that it should be just in 8 lines and directly readable, and primary school kids should look at it and understand? It is that complex, I tell them. It is that cheap, that profound. Yeah. No matter how I simplify it, I'm sorry, but it is that profound. It is like physics, E equals to mc squared. How many of you have heard of E equals to mc squared? The rest? Never heard of it? Okay, now today you all get bonus material. Yes, E equals to mc squared. To explain E equals to mc squared, you can simply explain it as that the amount of energy is equivalent to the mass multiplied by the speed of light squared. You can just explain it very simply like that. Yeah. But the full extent, the implication of this equation is very far and wide. I saw a short documentary about how there is actually another component here that is always equals to 0 under certain conditions, and that's why it's simplified to E equals to mc squared. In all other conditions, this is not non-zero. Yeah. Now, if you talk about physics, this is one of the very important equation. Yeah. So, but we don't say that, primary school kids or Sec 1 students should look at this and just know what it means. We don't assume that. Yeah. We say, how come you don't know? You better study hard, huh? But why is it that for Buddhism we insist that it must be simple? I share this with you because sometimes we may come to Buddhism with the wrong expectations. Yeah. We come to Buddhism hoping or thinking or expecting that it should be simple and straightforward. Because a lot of people always say that, Buddhism is very simple, very straightforward. In a way, it is very simple. All things are impermanent. If you don't have the wrong idea about things, you will not suffer. Very simple, ma. Correct? Yeah. Don't hold on to your attachment. You hold on, the more you hold on, the more you suffer. Very simple. Yeah. It's like Othello. Very simple. Black and white only. Flip, flip, flip. But hard to master. Yeah. Hard one to master. It's time to stop. 3:30. Oh, this clock is fast. Huh? Is that slow or is this fast? That's slow. Oh, okay. So it's 3:35 already. Okay. Okay. So any questions about this precept or about life, about C programming? About anything? If not, I'd like to extend dedication to Joseph Leong, a close friend of Calvin. In fact, the godbrother, as he told me, just passed away this morning. Yeah. So I'd like to extend dedication to him. May he have the conditions to be reborn in Pure Land, or wherever he is reborn in. May he have the conditions, the merits to come into contact with the Triple Gem and learn, practice the Buddha Dharma, and in due time attain to final liberation. There was also a request for us to, instead of just recite the dedication, to also chant. Do you know how to chant? The 愿消三藏. Don't know. Okay, you all can learn. 愿消